In the quiet city of Ifukub, the night of May 4th was disrupted by an extraordinary event. A falling object, initially presumed to be a meteorite, streaked across the sky and landed with a fiery impact on the outskirts of the city. The Ministry of Defense, issuing a special report, confirmed the anomaly but dismissed it as a routine cosmic event. Yet, this meteorite would soon herald the beginning of a series of unimaginable incidents. 3 days later, news stations buzzed with excitement about technological progress. The world's first quantum computer was set to begin its trial operations in the city. Related companies assured the public that there were no major issues with the system. Meanwhile, a peculiar segment aired, featuring a self-proclaimed alien hunter, Cosmo Tanaka, searching tirelessly for the meteorite that had fallen days before. Elsewhere in the city, Yasaka, a member of the Community Safety Division, arrived at a modest clinic. Stepping inside, he introduced himself to the doctor on duty, who greeted him warmly and led him to a private room. Yasaka had come to investigate reports of a runaway girl. The doctor gestured toward a bench where a girl sat, her striking green, crystal-like eyes gazing at nothing in particular. The doctor explained that she had been found wandering in the mountains, unclothed and unresponsive to attempts at communication. Yasaka approached her cautiously, his tone gentle yet firm as he introduced himself as a police officer. He showed her his badge and asked for her name, but the girl merely looked at him with a mix of curiosity and confusion, her expression unreadable. Turning to the doctor, Yasaka concluded that he would take the girl into custody for now. He instructed the doctor to contact him immediately if any relatives came looking for her. With that, Yasaka escorted the silent girl to his car. As they drove through the city, Yasaka's thoughts wandered. Taking in a runaway girl wasn't exactly his specialty, and he felt a vague unease about the situation. Suddenly, the car's GPS navigation system emitted a strange buzzing sound. Yasaka frowned, muttering about the malfunction, when a voice interrupted his thoughts. "Not really my thing. What does that mean?" Startled, Yasaka glanced back at the girl. Her eyes were closed, yet the voice seemed to emanate from her. A moment later, she opened them, her crystalline gaze locking onto his. "My language learning is not complete," she said, her tone precise but otherworldly. "Am I communicating without errors?" Yasaka blinked, struggling to process what he was hearing. "You're saying some pretty strange things. So, what? You've decided to chat now." The girl's demeanor remained calm as she continued. "I have deduced that you are a member of this planet's law enforcement organization. My name is Joshua. I am an undercover agent from the Galaxy Police Organization's Anti-Monster Task Force." Yasaka stared at her, incredulous. "Ah, I see. One of those, huh? I have a daughter, so I know all about delusions. Chinibyo, right?" He launched into a rambling story about his middle school girlfriend who had fancied herself a witch, brewing strange herbs in her room. Joshua's expression turned stern, interrupting his reminiscing. "Do you not believe my words?" she asked. Yasaka chuckled awkwardly, brushing her off. Okay, so where's your home? What about school? Let's just go back, all right?" Joshua's patience waned, and a soft glow began to emanate from her. The car suddenly stopped, its engine and electronics frozen. Yasaka's eyes widened as he yelled, "What is this? What did you do?" Joshua fixed him with a serious gaze. "Are you ready to listen to me now?" Yasaka's voice shook with a mix of anger and panic. "They're going to kill me for this. Can you fix it?" "This is no joke." Joshua ignored his protests and continued. "Do you know about the meteorite that fell recently?" "Sure, I know about it." "What about it?" "It wasn't a meteorite," Joshua revealed. "It was a transport ship carrying a Class A dangerous space monster. It crashed." Yasaka's disbelief grew. "What?" Joshua elaborated. "I was on that spaceship as a member of the Galaxy Police. There was a problem during transport and I barely managed to make an emergency landing on Earth. I was found wandering in the mountains after the crash." Yasaka's skepticism persisted. "Oh, I see. Wasn't there a movie on TV with a plot like this?" Before he could dismiss her further, Joshua's glow intensified. Yasaka threw up his hands. Okay. I believe you. I'll believe you for now. Joshua nodded, her voice steady. I need your help to find the escaped space monster. I also need a base for my search operations. The scene shifted to Yasaka's modest home. He gestured to the second floor. The upstairs is empty. Use it if you want. Joshua surveyed the space, her tone laced with subtle amusement. A big house with just one man living in it. I can guess what happened. Don't try to understand. Yasaka snapped, clearly uncomfortable. I used to be a serious detective. One day, my wife and kid left, and all I had was the loan. Worked myself to the bone for the money and couldn't go home in body or spirit. I'm a wreck. That's the sad reality of being a champion of justice. Joshua's expression softened. Don't say that. I'm a police officer too. I can feel the passionate detective spirit in your heart. For a moment, Yasaka looked at her, his defenses lowering. You really think so? But Joshua's tone shifted abruptly. Now, jokes aside, let's get to the main topic. That was a joke. Joshua explained her plan, requesting a device to track the monster. Yasaka handed her an old radio, skeptical of its usefulness, but Joshua assured him it would suffice. She adjusted the frequency, explaining that the monster, known as an ether body, could be tracked through its unique biological signals, radio waves. Tuning the radio, they soon picked up strange sounds, signals from the creature. Joshua, confirming that the monster was nearby, insisted they move out immediately. Yasaka hesitated, questioning her plan. She explained that the creature, called Phobia Number 10, was an ether-based life form that could absorb machines and weapons, growing stronger in technologically advanced environments. If left unchecked, it could become unstoppable. They arrived at an illegal dumping site in the mountains. Yasaka, grumbling about the danger and the poor terrain, suggested postponing the search until morning. Joshua, however, used her abilities to illuminate the area, much to Yasaka's amazement. Soon, the radio signal grew stronger, signaling that the creature was near. Joshua began disrupting its communication, prompting the emergence of a massive space monster, a towering, mechanical beast with sharp teeth. Joshua immediately assessed the situation, providing data on the creature's size, weight, and destructive capability, comparing its attack potential to that of a military tank. Yasaka, overwhelmed by fear, panicked at the sight of the monster. Joshua, however, remained composed, preparing for battle. As the creature lunged, Yasaka instinctively grabbed Joshua and fled, narrowly avoiding the attack. He frantically suggested calling the self-defense forces, but Joshua dismissed the idea, warning that Earth's military would be no match for the creature. Joshua explained that Phobia Number 10's true form was energy-based, with its outer shell formed from surrounding materials. The more advanced the civilization, the more dangerous the monster became, as it could incorporate technology into its form. If they failed to stop it now, it would evolve beyond control. Realizing the urgency, she revealed a plan. She would break through its defenses, exposing its core, while Yasaka would fire a special weapon to destroy it. Reluctantly, Yasaka prepared for battle. As the monster launched another attack, Joshua countered with her powerful blue-bladed sword, slicing through its outer shell. Yasaka watched in awe at her agility and strength. She then transformed her sword into a large firearm, instructing him to fire at the core once she pried it open. The battle intensified as the monster regenerated rapidly. Yasaka, gathering his resolve, fired a precise shot into the exposed core, obliterating the creature. Joshua praised his accuracy, acknowledging his hidden potential. Before Yasaka could celebrate, Joshua delivered another revelation. There were still 99 more phobia creatures on the loose. Shocked and exhausted, Yasaka protested, claiming he was too old for such a daunting task. Joshua, unfazed, inquired about locations in the city that consumed large amounts of electricity. Yasaka mentioned the quantum computer, leading Joshua to a grim realization. If the phobia creatures managed to integrate with the quantum system, they would surpass human intelligence and potentially overthrow Earth's civilization. With this dire warning, Their battle against the monstrous invasion had only just begun. It's May 10th, 4:22 p.m., 6 days after the meteorite fall. Two boys wandered through the dense forests of the mountains, their footsteps crunching against the uneven ground. They were on a mission to locate the fallen meteorite for their video content. The younger of the two, wearing a green shirt, lagged behind, his unease evident. "Senpai, let's just go home." "There's no point in this," he called out, his voice tinged with irritation. "It's just a waste of time." Senpai, armed with a camera and far more enthusiasm, shot back. "Shut up. This will make great content for my video. No other streamer has done this yet." The boy in green rolled his eyes. "Yeah, probably because it's not going to get any views," he muttered under his breath. As the two bickered, an otherworldly hum filled the air. They stopped in their tracks, eyes widening as a strange blue light materialized before them. The younger boy's voice trembled. "Senpai, is that a monster?" Meanwhile, back in Yasaka's home, Joshua sat cross-legged in front of the television, engrossed in a police drama. Yasaka stood behind her, leaning against the doorframe with an air of exasperation. "Is it interesting?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Joshua nodded earnestly. "Earth police are doing amazing things." Yasaka smirked. "It's just TV drama," he remarked, shaking his head. He glanced at the clock, his thoughts drifting. It had been a few days since she had arrived, and she hadn't left his house. She spent her days glued to police dramas and surviving on instant cup yakisoba. "Eating that every day is bad for your health," he chided, noticing yet another empty cup on the table. "You're having yakisoba for lunch again." Joshua's tone was matter-of-fact. "No problem. It's the most cost-effective meal. Paeung is a complete nutritional food." Yasaka chuckled. "Well, should I make you a bento instead? It's pretty tasty, you know." Joshua turned to him, her expression as analytical as ever. "No, that's fine. Based on my observations, there's likely a difference in taste perception due to our age gap. In other words, it would be generally bland. It would be difficult to achieve more satisfaction than Paeung." Yasaka blinked at her, baffled. "Oh, is that so?" he muttered. Then, as if reminded of something, he added, "Anyway, what about monster extermination? There are more of them out there, right?" Joshua's gaze shifted, her voice quieter. "I can't detect the phobias anymore. Maybe the remaining phobias became cautious after we defeated one. It's like there's jamming on their biological signals, making it hard to detect them." "Jamming?" Yasaka repeated, his brow furrowing. "Can those things even do that?" Joshua paused, her mind racing. "No, or perhaps," she mused, "is there interference from some other entity?" Her tone shifted back to confidence. "But there's no problem. Phobias are huge. Someone will spot them when they move." She glanced at Yasaka with a determined look. "If you and I search for them, with our detective spirits, we'll be fine." Yasaka groaned. "No, don't drag me into this. If you want to do it alone." Joshua's surprise was evident, her green crystal eyes wide. "Don't look at me like that," Yasaka said, his tone softening. "I'm just a civil servant. Defeating that monster before was just a coincidence. Rather than relying on someone like me, you should properly consult with the self-defense forces or the U.S. military. They'd probably lend you a better place to stay than this house." Joshua's expression hardened. "No." "I can tell," she said firmly. Her thoughts raced. The way he fought the other day, his gun handling, it was that of someone with proper training. This role can't be fulfilled without a sense of justice that allows one to put oneself in danger. "You should be able to fight," she declared. "I want your help." Yasaka hesitated, his face clouded with guilt. "Sorry, but I'm not that kind of person anymore," he admitted. "When I was young, I tried to be a righteous police officer. I trained in handling guns. I was even part of the special forces." Joshua watched him closely as he continued. "But I ended up killing someone." The weight of his confession hung in the air. "One day, there was a hostage situation," he began. "I was ordered to rescue the hostages and apprehend the culprit. The man was agitated, ready to kill at any moment. I thought I could shoot the weapon out of his hand, but instead I killed him. Joshua's gaze softened, but Yasaka pressed on. The media called it authoritarian justice. My family couldn't bear the fact that their husband and father, a righteous police officer, had suddenly become a killer. One day, I came home from work, and they were gone. Joshua's voice was gentle. You weren't at fault. It helps to hear you say that, Yasaka admitted. But my family felt differently. That's when I realized the things I tried to protect would easily betray me. After that, I stopped being a champion of justice. I transferred to the Community Safety Division to lecture troublemaking kids. That's the kind of person I am now. Joshua nodded solemnly. I see.
I'm sorry.
I understand the circumstances. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden beeping sound. Yasaka frowned. What's that? Joshua pulled out a smartphone, her expression serious. Excuse me. It's my smartphone. I've set it to notify me of any monster sightings. When did you get a smartphone? Yasaka asked, incredulous. More importantly, do you even have money? Joshua ignored him, her eyes glued to the screen. This is, she exclaimed. The screen displayed an image of a massive bird-like creature with glowing red eyes. A bird-type phobia, she murmured. If it has flight capabilities, it could be dangerous. Let's exterminate it immediately. If I fail, I'm counting on you. Hey, what am I supposed to do? Yasaka protested. Joshua turned to him, her gaze piercing. Yasaka Genichiro. What? He asked, startled. I listened to your story and felt the true spirit of a detective in your heart. Even in adversity, you haven't quit the police. That's proof. Yasaka stared at her, speechless. You're just not ready to fight yet, she continued. The Galaxy Police Organization awaits your participation. It's May 10th, 8:05 p.m., approximately 5 miles from the center of Ifukub City. 3 people stood near a green car parked by the roadside. One of them glanced upward, pointing at the darkening sky. What is that? He asked, his voice trembling. High above, a monstrous bird-like creature with glowing red eyes circled ominously, its massive wings blotting out the moonlight. Giant creature report. Space monster phobia specimen 02 observed. Wingspan approximately 50 meters. Possessing high flight capability. Specimen assessed at level 20. The sky above Ifukub City was filled with gasps and screams as the massive creature soared overhead. Its enormous wingspan and crackling energy sent waves of fear rippling through the crowd below. It's a monster, people exclaimed, their voices trembling with terror. From the chaos, Joshua emerged, her blue sword glowing with an ethereal light. With unwavering determination, she called out, Let's go. Time to take it down. Without hesitation, she leapt into action, charging toward the airborne beast. The phobia retaliated, sending a surge of electrical energy crashing toward her. Joshua darted and weaved through its attacks, her movements fluid and precise. She struck at the creature, her blade flashing in the light, but its energy field repelled her strikes. Despite this, she pressed on, her relentless assault drawing cheers from the onlookers. Yasaka watched the battle unfold from a distance, his heart pounding. She's fighting so fiercely, he thought, admiration and guilt battling within him. Am I just going to stand here and watch? But even if I went there, he recalled Joshua's words from before, you're just not ready to fight yet. Wait for your chance to join. Her voice echoed in his mind, stirring something deep within him. Joshua's voice cut through his thoughts. A powerful electrical discharge surrounds the phobia. I can't get close, she shouted as she dodged another attack. She counterattacked swiftly, her blades slicing through the air, but the phobia's shield of energy remained unbroken. Mid-strike, she faltered, a misstep sending her tumbling to the ground. Before the monster could capitalize on her vulnerability, Yasaka appeared by her side. He grabbed her arm, pulling her to safety just as a bolt of energy struck where she had fallen. Joshua looked up at him, relief and joy lighting up her face. I knew you'd come, she said breathlessly. Shut up. Yasaka snapped, his voice filled with frustration. Damn it. I had just managed to sort out my feelings. I thought this semi-retired life might not be so bad, and now you've messed it all up. Crap. I've realized it. I'm not cut out for living such an easygoing life. I want to be the kind of person who's the first to stand up when someone's in trouble. Is there anything I can do to help? Joshua. Joshua's expression softened, her respect for him evident. Of course, she replied. Listen, the enemy is flying and emitting strong electricity that repels anyone who gets close. It's disadvantageous for me to attack directly. Using firearms to shoot it down would be the best strategy. I want to entrust that role to you. I'll act as a decoy, so make sure you hit it. Yasaka hesitated, his voice shaking. I'll be the decoy. Wouldn't it be better if you aimed? Joshua shook her head. No, I'm a pro shot. If it's okay to accidentally hit you, I can shoot. He went quiet for a moment, then gritted his teeth. Is that all right with you? Joshua asked gently. Grabbing the massive gun she handed him, Yasaka nodded. Now let's go, he declared, the weight of the weapon grounding him in his resolve. As he held the gun, memory surfaced. Long ago, when I was a rookie, I half-jokingly asked my sharpshooting superior. Joshua leapt into action, drawing the phobia's attention with swift strikes and daring maneuvers. Meanwhile, Yasaka steadied the weapon, recalling his superior's words. If we need to shoot a suspect in actual combat, what's the best timing? The enemy shows the biggest opening right after they attack, with killing intent. But as police officers, that's not allowed. That's why we train no matter how difficult the situation. We shoot to protect someone. As the phobia lunged at Joshua with a ferocious strike, she dodged expertly, exposing its core. Now, she shouted. Yasaka set his sights on the glowing core, his breath steadying. With a resounding blast, the gun fired, the projectile striking true. The phobia let out a deafening roar as its core shattered, its massive body collapsing in a blaze of light. Did we do it? Yasaka asked, his voice trembling. Joshua approached him, a rare smile on her face. Splendid. You shot right through its core. Yasaka exhaled, lowering the weapon. The gun is too big, he muttered. Next time, give me something that fits my hands better. Joshua tilted her head, clearly confused as Yasaka raised his fist. No, not rock, paper, scissors, he corrected. It's a high five. It means we did a good job as comrades. Joshua hesitated for a moment, then raised her hand to meet his. Comrades, you're my friend now. My friend, Genichiro. Her smile widened, a rare moment of vulnerability shining through. I'm glad we can fight together. Yasaka looked at her, his own smile softening his features. Yeah, he said simply as they shared a victorious high five. In a dimly lit room, the sound of a phone notification pierced the silence. The screen displayed an ominous message. Saturday, May 10th. Monster information. New sighting information about a monster has been caught, it read. The fight was far from over. It's May 20th, 11:40 a.m., 16 days after the meteorite fall. Fukuoka City Police Headquarters, Community Safety Division. Yasaka scrolled through his phone, frustration clear on his face. Joshua said there's new information about a monster, but I can't find anything at all. There's nothing on the internet about that bird-type phobia from before, either. He muttered to himself. I find it hard to believe that no one saw us having a shootout in the middle of the city. Meanwhile, Joshua sat nearby, deep in thought. Is someone interfering? She mused, her green crystal eyes narrowing. Yasaka's mind raced as well. Who is the monster? He wondered. Is someone interfering? Is there a phobia that can manipulate online information? No, it's more likely that humans are interfering, he concluded grimly. As Yasaka was working, a colleague called out to him. Yasaka, you've got a visitor. To his surprise, it was Joshua. She stood at the doorway, arms crossed. I'm hungry, she announced plainly. Joshua, what are you doing here? Yasaka asked, bewildered. My lunch is gone, she said matter-of-factly. Gone? Didn't I give you lunch money? What happened to it? Yasaka asked, exasperated. I spent it on game purchases, Joshua replied unapologetically. I request additional support. Yasaka sighed heavily. Don't waste money like that, he scolded. Around the office, officers whispered to one another, awestruck by Joshua's striking appearance. Wow, so cute. Her blue hair is so pretty, someone remarked. Is this kid the one you're looking after? She's not Japanese, is she? Another officer asked. All right, one of them said, waving a hand. Just take her out for a meal, Yasaka. Sorry about this, Yasaka muttered. Come on, let's go. What do you want to eat? Paeung, Joshua replied instantly. Of course, you should suggest something like sushi at times like this. As they left, some officers commented among themselves. Yasaka-san's mood has improved, one said. His eyes used to look so dead, another noted. Maybe it's thanks to that kid, a third remarked. At a small restaurant, a delicious meal lay on the table. Both Yasaka and Joshua were eating, the tension easing as they began discussing their next steps. So, Yasaka began, do you think we can handle it? We can, Joshua said confidently. Have you found any eyewitness reports of the phobia? Sorry, I've got nothing, Yasaka admitted. You'd think there'd be reports to the police if something that big showed up, but there's no trace at all. Have you found anything on your end? Joshua held up her phone. The truth isn't always visible, Genichiro, she said cryptically. I'm directly searching the servers of video sites. I just found a promising lead. Let's take a look together. Yasaka leaned closer, raising an eyebrow. Hey, isn't that hacking? Is that really okay? Joshua ignored his question as a video began to play. A man's voice came through, trembling with fear. Can you hear me? Today's May 15th, Ifukub City, can you see me? For the past 2 days, strange insects have been appearing in the facility, so many of them. We were tasked with exterminating them. This place, it's not normal. That thing is beyond our capabilities. Our escape routes to the surface have been blocked, and we can't get out. For some reason, we can't contact headquarters either. We were attacked by those things. I'm the only one left. If anyone's watching this video, please help us. Suddenly, a massive, grotesque creature appeared on the screen, grabbing the man mid-sentence. His screams echoed as the video abruptly ended. Yasaka's face paled. What the hell is this? People are being attacked. Why isn't this video causing any buzz when it's been uploaded? Joshua's expression darkened. This video was deleted by someone immediately after being uploaded. Those trying to hide their existence must have interfered. Do these phobias eat people? Yasaka asked, horrified. Joshua nodded grimly. Phobias adapt their biology to their environment. If that individual has evolved to incorporate humans, it's an extremely dangerous entity. Yasaka clenched his fists. Anyway, we need to help those people who were attacked. Can you figure out where this was posted from? Joshua checked her phone. I can tell it's an underground facility from the general location data, but the details, it's likely somewhere in this urban area. An underground area, could it be the drainage canal? Yasaka suggested. There's a massive water tank for storing rainwater, and it wouldn't be strange for a phobia to be hiding there. Joshua's eyes lit up. I see, good information. All right, let's head there right away. We need to save lives. Let's rescue those people, Genichiro. Yasaka nodded. Yeah, it's May 20th, 3:21 p.m., Ifukub City New Outer Drainage Canal. The air was damp and heavy as Yasaka and Joshua entered the sprawling underground facility. The dim light and eerie silence sent chills down Yasaka's spine. It's dim, spacious, and creepy, he muttered. It's really quiet, not a soul in sight. Hey, is anyone there? Yasaka called out, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. Answer me. We're here to help. Suddenly, movement from above caught his attention. An ant-like creature lunged toward him. Yasaka braced himself, but before it could strike, a flash of blue light cut through the air. Joshua had intervened, her blade slicing the creature in two. What happened? Yasaka gasped, his heart racing. There are so many of them, Joshua said calmly. Leave it to me. I'll mow them all down. Wait, Yasaka called. His attention shifted to a man trapped in the grasp of one of the ant monsters. The man's voice was weak as he pleaded. Help me, please. Let's save that person first. Yasaka urged. Right, Joshua agreed, her determination unwavering. As they moved to help, a chilling voice echoed through the canal. Found you, barely human, return, return. A grotesque, shadowy hand pointed directly at Joshua. Yasaka froze, watching in disbelief as Joshua's demeanor shifted. Her eyes glazed over, and she murmured, I am, I am, I am. Are you okay? Yasaka shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Suddenly, the ceiling cracked, and a massive, monstrous creature descended, its presence suffocating. Yua. Hey, Joshua. What are you doing? Get away from there. Come over here. Yasaka yelled, desperation in his tone. He stepped closer, his voice rising. Joshua. The battle was far from over. The entity, classified as Phobia 03, is a colossal space monster with a unique hierarchy. It comprises a 30-meter mother body and swarms of 1-meter soldier units. The mother body itself poses no offensive threat, but is capable of producing an almost infinite number of level 1 soldiers, each equivalent to an armed human. Phobia 03's overall power, with its level 70 rating, is deemed greater than or equal to a large battalion of about 500 combatants. Yasaka sprinted through the dimly lit corridors, panic clawing at his chest as his voice echoed off the walls. Joshua, are you all right? Answer me. His heart pounded, not just from the exertion but from the oppressive sense of dread that hung in the air. But no response came. The silence from his comrade felt like a weight on his shoulders, and helplessness began to creep in. He turned a corner and froze. Swarms of ant-like monsters were crawling and scuttling in every direction, their insectoid forms relentless and horrifying. Damn it, he muttered under his breath, his fists clenched as his eyes darted for an escape route. There are so many of them, they're everywhere. Yasaka bolted down the hallway, his lungs burning and legs trembling as he pushed his body to its limits. My heart crap. I can't run anymore, he thought, his breath ragged. Collapsing against a wall, he muttered bitterly, Are these guys infinite? That's cheating, you bastards. Just as despair began to overtake him, he remembered something. Joshua had given him a weapon earlier. His trembling hand reached into his pocket and pulled out a small gun. He stared at it, cursing himself. If I knew this would happen, I should have asked her to make a bigger one, he thought grimly, his grip tightening around the handle. Joshua's words from earlier echoed in his mind. Is this good enough? Where's the excitement? It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Yasaka steeled himself, his mind racing. Fighting them head-on is impossible. With just this, I need a plan. Spotting a door labeled Control Room, Yasaka pushed it open, his breathing still labored. Inside, rows of computers glowed faintly, their monitors casting an eerie light across the room. He approached the nearest terminal and began typing furiously, the hum of the machinery a steady backdrop to his frantic thoughts. All right, the power's still on, he murmured. A small sense of relief flickered through him, as expected of Japanese technology. His fingers danced across the keyboard as he accessed the security camera feeds. One feed made him freeze. On the screen, Joshua stood motionless, facing down one of the monsters. Yasaka's stomach churned as dread tightened its grip on him. What happened to her? He whispered to himself. What should I do? How can I save her? Before he could act, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway outside. The lock on the control room door splintered with a loud crack, and Yasaka spun around just as a monstrous figure stepped inside. Its grotesque form filled the doorway, its many eyes locking onto him with malicious intent. I found you, the creature hissed, its voice a guttural rasp. Yasaka's heart raced, but he steadied himself and forced the words out. Are you controlling humans? The monster let out a low, guttural laugh. We manipulate their brains. They're sacrifices, pawns to convey our will. Yasaka's jaw clenched as anger simmered within him. Sacrifices? Well, isn't that just another way of benefiting humans? The monster's laughter grew louder, its tone mocking. Wrong. You will all die. We were created as enemies of humans, born from humanity's sins. Yasaka raised his gun, his voice trembling but resolute. Shut up with your nonsense. Let her go. The monster sneered. You want to shoot? Be careful, you might kill her. Yasaka's hand shook, but determination burned in his eyes. All right, he said, his voice firm. I won't hesitate anymore. Without another thought, he pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, and the creature let out a horrific screech before collapsing to the ground. Yasaka lowered the gun, his breath uneven. Don't underestimate humans, he muttered. He turned back to the screen. Joshua was still standing in front of another creature, motionless, as if trapped in her own mind. Yasaka's heart ached at the sight. Hang on, Joshua, he whispered. I'm coming now. Deep within her own thoughts, Joshua fought to regain control. The creature loomed over her, its influence suffocating, but she began to stir, her will to fight flickering back to life. Yasaka dashed through the corridors toward her location, his mind racing with determination. He had already lost too much. He wouldn't lose her too. Deep within the confines of an unknown location, 3 figures gathered in hushed discussion, their voices tense and deliberate. Their words carried weight, each one laced with urgency. They've noticed us, one of them said, their gaze fixed on a glowing monitor displaying shifting, incomprehensible data. The attack will come soon, another murmured, their tone filled with both anticipation and resolve. I have a good idea, the third figure interjected, their voice cutting through the tension. Let's use this as a shield to protect ourselves. All for humanity's leap forward. Awaken, let's make the necessary adjustments to defeat phobia. Joshua, trapped within the clutches of the monster's influence, fought an internal battle. The creature's control over her mind was like a vice, pressing down with relentless force. But amidst the suffocating darkness, a spark of her will flickered. Her memories surfaced, unbidden yet vivid, a lifeline amidst the chaos. Gritting her teeth, she summoned every ounce of strength left within her. With a final, desperate effort, she broke free from the creature's grasp. The force of her liberation caused her body to collapse, but as she fell, Yasaka was there. He caught her before she hit the ground, holding her tightly. Hey, you bug bastards, Yasaka growled, his voice filled with defiance. Nearby, the monstrous machine emitted a cacophony of strange, mechanical noises, its guttural hum echoing through the space. Yasaka grabbed a wireless phone, its signal distorted, producing a static buzz. He smirked. Joshua taught me that these phobias are sensitive to radio interference and noise. Holding the device closer to the machine, he shouted, How's that? Does this sound even noisier than humans? Turning his attention to Joshua, he shook her gently. Wake up, he called out, his voice layered with concern and urgency. Joshua stirred slightly in his arms, but didn't fully regain consciousness. Yasaka frowned, his thoughts racing. Is she under some kind of hypnosis? Her consciousness still isn't clear. This is bad. The sound of scuttling feet pulled Yasaka's attention. He turned to see a swarm of ant-like monsters charging toward them, their mechanical bodies glinting ominously in the dim light. Yasaka gritted his teeth, tightening his hold on Joshua. Sorry, I don't have time to deal with you guys, he muttered under his breath. An idea sparked in his mind. A wild, desperate gamble. He glanced at a nearby control panel and smirked. How about a little water play, you bug bastards? He slammed his hand on the controls, activating the floodgates. In an instant, torrents of water surged through the area, crashing into the swarm with unrelenting force. The ant monsters were swept away, their mechanical bodies sparking and malfunctioning under the onslaught. How's that? Yasaka muttered, watching the chaos unfold. I opened the floodgates. Water play must be tough for mechanical bodies, huh? The rush of water seemed to jolt Joshua awake. She coughed and sputtered, her eyes fluttering open. Pwah. What is this place? She stammered, her voice filled with confusion. Yasaka's face lit up with relief. Whoa, you're awake. Joshua blinked, taking in the flood around them. Water. What? The deluge had a secondary effect. The monstrous machine lost its control, its mechanical limbs flailing erratically. Joshua shook off the lingering fog in her mind and turned to Yasaka, her expression sharp. "You've really done it now," she said, her tone carrying a mixture of irritation and amusement. Yasaka grinned sheepishly. "Making me lose face like this?" Joshua cut him off, her voice rising with determination. "I'm angry. You'd better believe I won't show any mercy." With a flourish, she summoned her weapon. "Come forth, ultimate sword." A brilliant blue blade materialized in her hand, glowing with an otherworldly energy. "Here I go," she declared, dashing toward the monster. With precision and fury, she struck, her blade slicing through the machine's core. The creature let out a final, distorted screech before collapsing in a heap of broken metal. Yasaka stared, stunned. "Whoa," he muttered, unable to hide his awe. Before they could catch their breath, the sound of wings filled the air. They looked up to see a swarm of mosquito-like monsters hovering ominously above them. Joshua didn't hesitate. She tightened her grip on her sword and lunged at one of the creatures. With a swift motion, she drove her blade into its chest. The creature let out a shrill cry before falling to the ground, lifeless. The building was drenched in water, with ripples flowing endlessly across the flooded floor. Joshua stood in the midst of it all, her blue sword gleaming brightly in the dim light. Her sharp eyes locked onto the mosquito monster darting erratically through the air. She raised her weapon, her tone unwavering as she called out, "This guy. Genichiro, can you see it? Look into its eyes, there. The main body, the core. Don't let it escape." Yasaka adjusted his aim, trying to keep up with the monster's rapid movements. His voice was tight with frustration. "It's no use, it's too fast. I can't catch up with it." Joshua glanced over, determination blazing in her expression. "Then let's block its escape route." She clasped her hands together, energy surging from her body. A radiant blue light erupted, forming a glowing circle that encased the monster. "Let's lure it to a place where it's easier to target," she declared. The light tightened around the mosquito-like creature, forcing it into a corner. Yasaka seized the opportunity, setting his sights on the target and firing. The sound of the gunshot echoed, and he turned to Joshua. "Did it dodge?" he asked, his voice uncertain. Joshua's expression didn't waver. She tightened her grip on her sword and said firmly, "I'll pierce through it." With a burst of speed, she charged toward the creature. Her blade sliced clean through the monster's head. The impact caused an immense explosion, the force of which sent ripples of energy across the water. The mosquito monster crumpled to the ground, defeated. Joshua exhaled deeply, her body relaxing as the immediate danger passed. She approached the fallen monster cautiously, her blue sword still glowing faintly in her hand. The creature, despite its shattered state, let out a garbled noise, its voice faint but clear enough to form words. "Big, remember? A sigh." Joshua's eyes narrowed. "Have you learned human language?" she asked, her tone filled with suspicion and intrigue. The creature's voice continued to rasp, distorted yet persistent. "Remember, you are still." Before it could say more, Joshua gripped her sword tightly and drove it into the monster's eye with all her strength. Her voice echoed through the space, steady and resolute. "I am Joshua, from the Galaxy Police Organization." Yasaka stood a short distance away, stunned by what he had just witnessed. Joshua's sudden intensity, her declaration, and the unrelenting force with which she ended the creature all left him speechless. Something about her behavior seemed off, as if she was fighting not just the monster, but something within herself. When the fight ended, Joshua lowered her sword, her shoulders trembling. Tears began streaming down her face, unbidden and unexplained. She raised a hand to her cheek, her voice shaking as she whispered, Why am I crying?" Yasaka watched her closely, concern etched across his face. Her behavior was undeniably strange. He couldn't shake the thought that something deeper was at play. Perhaps the phobia had some kind of mental interference, he speculated. As if to confirm his fears, Joshua's strength gave out entirely, and she collapsed to the ground. Yasaka caught her before she fell, cradling her unconscious form. She looked peaceful now, as though her mind had powered down like a machine. It seems she needs some rest for a while, Yasaka murmured to himself, carrying her out of the flooded battlefield. Back at the office, Yasaka leaned against his desk, his thoughts swirling with everything that had transpired. He wanted to tell his colleagues about the battle with the phobia and the destruction of the facility, but how could he explain it? Sigh, how am I supposed to report about fighting a monster and destroying a facility? He muttered under his breath. But I can't stay silent either. His musings were interrupted by a commotion outside the room. A raised voice echoed down the hallway. I'm telling you, it's true, a boy shouted, his voice desperate. Curious, Yasaka stepped outside and found one of his colleagues speaking with the boy. The boy was animated, gesturing wildly as he tried to explain something. Do a urine test if you want, he exclaimed, his frustration evident. I'm not on drugs. Yasaka raised an eyebrow and turned to his colleague. What's going on? He asked. His colleague shrugged, clearly unimpressed by the boy's frantic energy. Well, this guy we just picked up keeps saying weird things, claims he saw a monster or something. Yasaka's expression hardened slightly. Huh, he said, his interest piqued. He couldn't dismiss the boy's words so easily. After everything he had seen, the idea of someone else encountering a monster didn't seem so far-fetched anymore. Yasaka looked at the boy and asked, You saw a monster? A nearby police officer interjected, You're probably thinking, what's that about? But the kid seemed so serious. I wasn't sure what to make of it. Yasaka thought to himself, I ought to hear this story out, before addressing the boy. Good work today, he said. His colleague noticed and said, Oh, Yasaka. I heard about the situation, Yasaka replied. I'll take over from here. Oh, I see. Well then, the colleague muttered, stepping aside. The boy frowned, sizing Yasaka up. Who are you, old man? He asked rudely. I'm Yasaka from the Community Safety Division, Yasaka answered. I have some questions for you. So, you saw a monster? The boy's anger flared. What the hell? Are you making fun of me? I've never told a lie my entire life, you hear me? Yasaka tilted his head slightly, as if in thought. Could it be, was it something like a mechanical monster? The boy's expression shifted to one of shock. How did you? He exclaimed. I'd like to hear the details, Yasaka urged calmly. The boy hesitated for a moment before starting. The name's Minami issue. I'm a bit of a street racer in this town. Wait, aren't you a student? Yasaka asked, raising an eyebrow. The boy ignored the question and continued. It was 3 days ago. He began recounting the events of that night. Another racer had called out to him, taunting, Hey, Minami. You've been acting pretty cocky around here lately, huh? Tonight, I'm gonna put you in your place, so be ready. Minami, a boy with golden brown hair, had smirked in response. Huh, I can't hear you over the engine noise. Hey, I heard you got a girlfriend. Make sure you don't get into an accident. Drive safely, you hear me? A group of racers had gathered at Port Highway No. 6, nicknamed Rocco. It was a well-known holy ground for street racers, a bypass connecting the port to the urban expressway, typically used only by truck drivers. When there were no ships, it became an arena for speed-crazed duels. Hearing this, Yasaka muttered, You know that's illegal, right? Minami ignored him and continued, That night, we all set out to race for the title of fastest. Everything was going great until I saw it. A bright light in my rearview mirror. It was moving so fast, faster than anything I've ever seen. And then red eyes. That's when I knew it wasn't normal. Minami's voice trembled as he continued. It overtook me. It really did. A mechanical monster. Shh. Keep your voice down, calm down. Yasaka instructed. Minami nodded and began explaining further. It overtook me, and I lost control. I fell off my bike. Someone came running over, asking if I was okay, but then the monster attacked my bike. It started eating it, tearing it apart like it was alive. He clenched his fists, his voice filled with anger. I cried as I watched it destroy my dark eclipse. Your bike was eaten? Yasaka asked, his tone skeptical yet intrigued. That's right. Minami snapped. My dark eclipse. Huh? What? Yasaka replied, confused. It's my bike's name, Minami exclaimed. Don't you name your own ride? Anyway, I've been waiting every night to get revenge for my beloved bike. Armed with a bat and an airsoft gun, you know? But then the cops found me. Of course you'd get caught, Yasaka muttered. Everyone got scared and stopped racing after that. What the hell was that thing? Minami demanded. It's a space creature, Yasaka answered simply. Minami blinked, stunned. What's that supposed to mean? Are you serious, old man? Can you be serious for once? You're the one who asked me what it was, Yasaka retorted. Anyway, I don't know the details either. I'll ask someone who knows more. Give me some time. Minami hesitated before replying. You believe me, huh? Yasaka nodded. Yeah. As Yasaka walked away, his thoughts drifted to Joshua. I've had my share of weird stuff these past few days too. Still, I wonder if Joshua can move. Worst case, I might have to handle this alone. When Yasaka entered the room, he was startled to find Joshua awake. Oh, you're awake? He asked. You startled me. Joshua looked at him and said, Genichiro, I'm hungry. She grabbed some food and began eating. Phew. Paeung at midnight hits different. Yasaka chuckled lightly and asked, feeling better now? Yeah, Joshua replied, though her tone carried a hint of sadness. I feel like I had a sad dream. Well, we all have days like that, Yasaka said thoughtfully. When that happens, I usually forget about it with some booze and a random movie. If you're old enough to drink. Alcohol, huh? I've never had it, Joshua admitted. But I'm curious about the taste of victory sake I've seen in dramas. I'd like to try it. It might not be something you can just decide to drink, Yasaka murmured. Joshua stood up. Well, now that we've eaten, shall we go? Huh? Yasaka asked, confused. Joshua looked him in the eyes. I can tell by your face. You've got new information about a phobia, right? Yasaka hesitated. No, you really should rest a bit more. Joshua's resolve was unwavering. I will fight. That's my reason for existing. Yasaka smiled at her determination. I was hoping for a bit of rest too. At midnight, beneath a city bridge, a strange creature appeared. Its horrifying form cast eerie shadows, razor-sharp teeth and a long, menacing tail glinting under the dim light.